Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. The media, the corrupt mainstream bias media. They will do anything, stoop to whatever lows to save Joe Biden's behind. But once it gets so bad that it's literally undeniable, well then they're stuck between a rock and a hard place and they have absolutely no other choice. They would love to be defending Joe right now. I mean, if Joe was doing just average or below average, if Joe was hitting Obama levels of performance where it's just kind of meh, not really achieving much but just sounding like a coherent, well-polished politician, then Joe Biden would be hailed as a hero, the savior of the republic. I mean, when Joe Biden got elected, Van Jones on CNN literally cried, "Oh my God, we have restored decency in America," is essentially what he was saying as he bawled his eyes out on national TV, of course exposing himself as a truly biased Democrat actor, and definitely nothing even close or remotely close to a true, neutral, non-biased journalist. But the media can only do that if Joe is performing at, slightly below, or above expectation. If Joe Biden is performing the way that he is, which is to say, I mean, literally screwing everything up and just crisis after crisis, the biggest disaster in modern American history, making Jimmy Carr look like a presidential all-star, well then the media's coverage changes a little bit because they just can't spin the story. If Joe Biden is doing nothing but pushing completely incoherent, nonsensical, clearly BS talking points, well they have to call him out. If Joe Biden's numbers are in the dumpster as they are, some of the lowest presidential approval ratings we have seen in modern history once again, breaking records in all of the wrong ways, well then what's the media gonna say? Oh, 36% approval rating. It's bringing me to tears. Decency in America has been restored. No, they're going to call him out as an absolute failure because they literally have no other choice. And that's exactly what we're seeing. Even the mainstream media is forced to report on the truth, to tell the truth. And when that happens, well, some truly epic moments happen on TV, and this moment on CNN was just perfect, and I mean perfect. This CNN contributor left that panel speechless. They just didn't know what to say, and let me show you guys exactly what happened. But before we get into any of it, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share the video as much as possible. We are still shadow banned by the YouTube algorithm, hidden from non-subscribed viewers. With that out of the way, let's roll the tape. Alright folks, so take a look at what happens when you actually tell the truth on a CNN panel.
Look, everything the president just said that we just listened is true. It's also largely irrelevant. When inflation is where it's at, when you see gas prices going where it's at, we can talk about a jobs report here. We can talk about the latest PCE numbers of the CPI, and all of us former Bloomberg reporters can really get into the weeds, right? But there's one number that they can't really change right now, and that is what the placard says at the local gas station.
Yeah.
And that number is high, and that's a daily jobs report that voters, that Americans, consumers see every day, and there's nothing the White House can do about it other than bring down the price of gasoline, which is tough.
And maybe blame Putin. And this week the tagline was the Putin price hikes or something to that effect.
Look, when I drive past gas stations that say blame Putin more than they say let's go Brandon, I'll know the White House. I'll know the White House has been successful in messaging it. That hasn't happened yet.
I mean, they were stunned. They literally didn't know what to say. You could tell. The host of the panel was absolutely surprised that he said the words, "Let's go, Brandon." She didn't know what to say, how to pivot, whether or not to legitimize the point that he was making. But the point that he was making was completely accurate. Most people that are going to gas stations aren't pumping gas in their car and saying, "Oh, that darn Putin." They're pumping gas in their car and saying, "Why did I vote for this guy? What was I thinking? I should have listened to Donald Trump."
If Biden got in, you'd be paying $7, $8, $9. Didn't they say, get rid of your car?
I think what most people are thinking is regret, shame. And when they see stickers like this, showing Joe Biden pointing at the gas prices with the caption saying, "I did that," I think most people agree. Yeah, you did. And based on the numbers, we know that a majority of Americans are blaming Joe Biden, not Vladimir Putin, when it comes to gas prices. The Democrat rhetoric of Putin's price hike is falling flat, to say the least. And Joe Biden's dishonest rhetoric is another thing that the media has to tackle. Take a look at this ABC piece right over here.
Biden has called it a Putin price hike, but most Americans aren't buying it. And the fact is, gas prices were on the rise before Russia invaded Ukraine. The national average is now $4.22 a gallon. That's up 60 cents since the war began, but up $1.34 from a year ago. Presidents usually see a bump in approval ratings during a time of crisis. But Biden is now at new lows, his overall approval rating at 36% in a new Quinnipiac poll. Just 1 in 3 approve of how he is handling the economy.
Some of these moments that I'm showing you are some of Joe Biden's worst moments in the mainstream media throughout his entire presidency, as Democrats were hoping that Joe Biden would get that bounce back. It's nothing but a constant plummet downward as Americans continue to reject Joe Biden as a president and continue to reject the absolutely dishonest rhetoric and propaganda coming out of the DNC, trying to justify this train wreck. The American people are not stupid and they understand what is going on, no matter how many lies the DNC pushes. The American people know who's to blame, and the numbers reflect that. The only person who doesn't seem to get it is Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton says she doesn't understand why Joe Biden's poll numbers are so low. I'm not quite sure what the disconnect is between the accomplishments of the administration and this Congress and the understanding of what's been done and the impact it will have on the American public, and some of the polling and the ongoing hand-wringing. I mean, they're actually doubling down. They're doubling down with Joe Biden's not the problem. The American people are the problem. They just don't get it. They just don't see all of the accomplishments. No, they see the accomplishments, or rather they see the results each and every single day as they go to the grocery store, go to fill up their cars, or turn on the TV and see what's going on across the world, in their own communities with the rise in crime, or at the southern border. They see it. You don't, because frankly you don't care. None of it affects these elitist liberals worth millions upon millions of dollars. So what do they care about inflation or the rest of it that only affects the middle and lower class? I mean, absolutely despicable. But of course, you know, these Democrats, they'll never stop. They'll never give up. You gotta give it to them. They're persistent. I mean, just think about how dedicated to Joe Biden and the Democrat cause you must be to be saying some of this stuff, to be telling voters, Joe Biden's not the problem, you are. Your lack of education and understanding is the problem. Or some of these other liberals that claim the media is the problem. One of them being media figure Don Lemon, who said this about the recent criticism Joe Biden has been receiving for his triple foreign policy gaffe fiesta that happened last week.
I'm going to say my interpretation of this, as I said over the weekend, right after the president said it, being here in the region in Ukraine. The president is saying exactly what most of the world feels about Vladimir Putin. Now, he did not in that speech say that Vladimir Putin should be removed or we're going to take him out of power. He said this man should not remain in power. What person in their right mind thinks that someone who bombs innocent people, children, a country that is an unprovoked war, should remain in power? Now, if he had said on the other side of that, so I think that we should do something to take him out of office, that would be a different thing. General Hertling on our air that evening said the same thing. Quite honestly, I think this is a media manufactured story. And the media, it's in the media's interpretation.
Once again, the same condescending tone. How could you possibly believe that that's what Joe Biden meant? As if Joe Biden's words weren't the problem, but rather it was the interpretation. No, it literally sounded like regime change, and nobody is arguing that Vladimir Putin isn't a violent despot dictator. The idea that it's unprovoked, I mean, that's another thing. I wouldn't go that far, but nobody is denying that the world would be better off if Russia was a peaceful democracy that worked well with neighboring nations. Nobody is denying that. The issue is American history and foreign policy disasters when it comes to installing leaders and regime change. It's led to nothing but disaster. People who have an issue with Joe Biden's very poorly chosen words, from go get him to he cannot remain in power, those people aren't dumb, those people aren't crazy, those people are smart. And they get it. It's not a media manufactured issue. It's the media telling the truth for once. The media holding this clown in office accountable for the words that he says, because they're making the situation worse and bringing us closer to war and further conflict. Even European leaders essentially told Joe Biden to shut up. Let's be real here. But of course, despite Hillary Clinton, despite Don Lemon trying to save and shield Joe Biden from criticism, it's not gonna work and it's not working. Your boy Biden is pretty much done. And for all of the lefties that are waiting for inflation to tamper down, and for this Russia-Ukraine crisis to hopefully go away, thinking that's gonna help Joe Biden's approval ratings, I truly believe you are living in a delusional state. If you think that Joe Biden's problems are done here, you are sadly mistaken. Joe Biden's track record as a president, his presidential timeline has been crisis after crisis, and the next one is going right back to the border as the CDC is now lifting Title 42. And the low estimates that we're getting even from CNN are this.
Of course, now the challenge is, that they are removing it in late May, they say that's to give them time to implement the processes because they know these numbers are going to skyrocket. They're expecting 30 to 60,000 people in May alone to just be waiting ready for this.
And I'd say 40 to 60,000 people waiting to storm the border after Title 42 is removed is a very, very low estimate. Joe Biden's record-breaking, in a bad way, border crisis from 2021, seeing nearly 2 million people. Those are just the apprehensions. Well, I think year over year, Joe Biden might be breaking those records. The border crisis is coming back. Really, what this all is, what it all amounts to, is the Biden presidency crisis, which is never ending as long as this potato is in office. This administration is indefensible. Even the left-wing media knows that. And if you're paying attention, then you also know that this presidency is not only indefensible, but also irredeemable. It's game over. The problem is Joe Biden, not the American electorate. Well, I mean, those who voted for him in the first place, you're part of the problem, but as long as you redeem yourself and change your ways, then salvation can be achieved. That's what I got for you guys, though. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to leave a like, a comment, subscribe, share it as much as possible. We are still shadow banned with the YouTube algorithm hidden from non-subscribed viewers. I'm going to get back to work. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.